Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We apologize for the technical issue that happened, and we just fixed it, and now we're back. So we're going to give a few minutes for everybody to join. إذا بتعرفوا حدا ممكن يستفيد من هالجلسة, we're going to do it in Arabic, بالعربي, and in English. إذا عندكم أي سؤال أو أي تعليق, please حطوه بالكومنتس لنجاوبكم عليه بآخر السيشن. And I'm going to give 2 or 3 minutes just for everybody to join. I can see people in the comments already, so thanks for everybody who's joining us. And again, we apologize for the technical issue. We're back online now. As a reminder, this webinar is going to tackle people who come from an administration or business background looking to learn about what we do at TBB in terms of how we can support you. And you're also going to hear from our amazing candidate who made it to Australia. His name is Fadi. You're all familiar with his story, and he's going to be live with us today to share his story and share some of his experiences. I can see people in the comments already. Hi Hassan, hi Luay. Thank you for being with us today. وللتذكير إذا عندكم أي سؤال بالعربي أو بالإنجليش حطوه بالكومنتس حتى نجاوبكم عليه. السيشن حتكون باللغتين لحتى نقدر نجاوب على أكبر قدر ممكن من الأسئلة. Okay, I can see that many people are here already. I'm going to hand it over to Fadi. Fadi, thank you for being here with us. We're really happy to have you, and we're also excited to hear your story. The stage is yours. Please go ahead, introduce yourself, and share your story with TBB. We'll all love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Naeem, and apologies for everyone about a bit of delay, but we made it in the end, and here we are. And thanks for everyone who decided to join. مثل ما قلت قبل, إذا حدا عنده حيلا سؤال عربي كمان, please feel free. عربي, إنجليزي, فرنساوي, ما بتفرق. You can ask in any language you want. A bit of background about myself. My name is Fadi Musa, that's my legal name, and there's a background behind that, but some of you may know me as Fadi Chalouhy. I have a master's degree in financial engineering from the Lebanese University in Tripoli in 2012, and I'm still technically stateless, which means I don't have any kind of citizenships. And the reason behind that, just a quick update for everyone, is, see, I was born in Lebanon to a Lebanese mother and a Syrian father. My father did not register me, and in Lebanon, unfortunately, until today, women cannot register their children. So I was born stateless. And as you know, that's a big issue. I was extremely lucky with getting an education, with getting a job experience. But I think the biggest luck I had was actually meeting TBB. I met TBB back in 2016. I just sent them an email hoping something might happen. And it started an amazing journey in 2016 that eventually led me to land in Australia in March 2019 and gain a skill shortage visa. And currently I am living in Sydney. I am an Australian permanent resident, and I am an associate manager in supply chain, strategy and operations with Accenture Australia.
Thank you so much, Fadi. Your story is one that inspires all of us to, first of all, keep doing what we're doing at TBB, but also it's an inspiration for all of our candidates who are also familiar with your story. We just love talking about you because we're so proud of you here. So thank you for sharing your background. And I think it's time for us to get started. I can already see questions in the comments, but we're going to leave them until the end of the session. Right now, I'm just going to give you the stage to share your slides and start talking about what you do at Accenture and what it means to be a consultant or in the consulting industry. So these are your slides. The stage is yours. Please go ahead.
Definitely. Well, first of all, I like to really congratulate everyone who is taking an interest in consulting or even considering that career, because without being too subjective, I love it. I think it's one of the best career paths you could ever take. It's a baptism by fire into the corporate world, and it will set you up for success in the rest of your career. The kind of stress and the kind of pressure and the kind of workload that you deal with in those early years of your career would never be matched again. And once you deal with that level, everything after that is such a breeze. Now, I like to start with this slide. It's a bit of a joke, and it says here, how do we know it's not full of consultants? If you're familiar with the Trojan story and the Trojan methodology with the Trojan horse, and they went into the city. And the reason why I chose this slide is most of the clients or most of the people who are not familiar with what consulting is think it's a ripoff, think it's, just someone who's coming into our company or coming into a company to take our money, take our time, and replace our employees. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, consulting is nothing but added value to the client, to the market, and to the growth of any company. If you can go to the next slide, please.
I think you're the one
Oh,
sharing the
yeah,
slide.
so I,
So I think you can go ahead.
yeah, my bad. All right, so let's put that myth aside. When you are a consultant, you are actually engaged with each and every aspect of a company's growth cycle. Like, and depending on which part of the cycle you go in, you will have a big impact on the company. And consulting actually can take several aspects if you want. You could be a strategy consultant, and that will mean you will engage with these workshops with the client to help them figure out their vision. How do they want to upscale? How do they want to set up their strategy for the next 5 or 10 years, right? And and that could be sometime from 6 to 8 weeks engagements. Or you could be someone on the technology side or on the delivery side. The client want to have a big digital transformations. They want to create a new website, they want to introduce a new technology, they want to have a big shift in hardware or software. You can be part of that journey as well, and you can understand their process and help them upskill it and make it better. And the best thing about being a consultant is, obviously, there are some cases where the relationship doesn't work out well and it's a failure, but more often than not, it is a success story. And you will leave that company in a better shape than you found it. And that sense of satisfaction is really unraveled for me. And now, when we talk about consulting, and I'm guessing I am talking to people who are mostly on the career entry stage of consulting. If you want to join, which means you just graduated, you maybe have a year or less of experience, and that's fine. There are two aspects of consulting. Now, the first aspect is you are someone extremely skilled, extremely experienced. You have 5, 10, 15 years of experience. You are a subject matter expert. And what you do is you join a consulting company and then you sell your expertise, per hour rates to the client. You consult them and you give them advice on how to proceed with a certain problem. Now, the second aspect is you're a fresh grad, which was my case, and you want to join a consulting firm or you want to go into that world, which is also fine. Now, the biggest myth I want to bust here is if you are in that second bracket and you're just fresh out of college, don't set your expectations too high on what you expect your job is going to be. So, what I'm saying is, if you're fresh out of college and you barely have any experience, no one's going to pay you top dollar to consult. You have nothing to consult on. Let's be frank here, right? So the first 2 or 3 years in a consulting world, it's all about what you can take, not what you can give. And that's completely fine. Because in those first 2, 3 years, you're going to learn about work ethics. You're going to learn about commitment. You're going to learn about hard work. You're going to pick up so much skills and so much experience. And after those first 2, 3 years, then you can start maybe consider yourself as a subject matter expert. And then you will be able to get more money. The reason I'm saying is that entry level salaries for consultants aren't the highest, and the reason for that is you really have nothing to offer other than your hard labor. But once you hit those 2 3 years and you get them under your belt, the sky is the limit from there. And I'm gonna move to the next slide here just quickly. Now, I really took a couple of minutes and actually started to think, what does a day in the life of a consultant look like? And this is actually how a day in my life looked like. Now, first and foremost, you have 20 minutes of meeting, and there is no escaping that. Consulting is client facing. Most often than not, you're going to be at the client office, you're going to be dealing with stakeholders, they're going to be asking you questions, you're going to be in workshops. So it's going to be a big part, especially at the earlier stages. Now, as the project kind of stabilizes and you move more into just actually doing the work, the meetings will get less and less. But at the start of the project, you're going to be back to back meetings, 9 to 5, each and every day. And then you have 50% of your time you're going to be needed to actually do some work. And there's this fantasy that consulting, drink coffee and you fly from one city to another and stay in hotels and all of that. It is a part of it, but actually, when a company hires a consultant because they want extremely fast results as soon as possible, normally when we are hired or brought in into a situation, it's because the client is struggling. It's because the client have a vision, have no idea how to attend, and they really need some help. So 50% of our time it's going to be actually doing a lot of work, and that work could be a range of things. It could be setting up workshops and trying to figure out who are the main stakeholder. It could be reshaping a certain process, trying to understand the process from A to Z and thinking where can we improve that process. For example, I am in supply chain. For those of you who are familiar with supply chain, especially in this day and age, every second or every minute that you can spare and make your supply chain more efficient, it will generate more money and more revenue to your client. So that could be part of the work as well. Analysis. You see, like it's all good to actually do the work, but before we actually start doing the work, we need to understand what do we need to do. So it's good. I think of consulting sometimes like a chess game. With chess games, it's not checkers. You don't just move the moves randomly. You need to stop and think which piece am I moving next? Why am I moving this piece next? And what happened if I move it? And this is a huge part of our work. We do a lot of analysis because at the end of the day, we are entrusted with the customer's future, with their vision, with their data. And so every step or every actions that we take could have extreme ramifications. So we need to tread lightly and always measure each and every step we take. And last but not least, which is my least favorite action of the day, is actually organization. When you're a consultant, more often than not, you're going to be overwhelmed with information, with data, with files. On any given day, I have 7, 8 Excel sheets open, 2, 3 PowerPoints, databases, Microsoft Teams, chats open. So if you don't take some time at the end of each day to kind of organize your desktop, organize your files, 2 minutes into any project, you're going to be lost. You won't have any idea where to find your files. You're going to be overwhelmed with emails, and it's going to be complete chaos. So I learned the hard way, so to speak, to just take half an hour at the end of each day before I just log off and relax to kind of, organize my desktop, organize my day, and make sure I know what I'm doing the next day as well, which is a big part of it. So I have this checklist. So, okay, when I'm waking up tomorrow, these are the things I need to do. And I try to limit them to less than 10 tasks per day because after that, it just gets extremely hectic. All right. Now, I really thought about what are the skills that are needed to be a consultant. Now, this can also be another title. It could be the skills that you will learn and master once you're a consultant. It could be either way. Because if you're a fresh grad just out of college, most often than not, all of these skills you probably won't have, which is okay because every consulting firm, whether it was Accenture or McKinsey or Deloitte, all of them, they have a graduate project where you join, they teach you the ropes, they give you a bit of information, a bit of like learning duration, which is good straight from 2 to up to 8 weeks. So a lot of these things they will help you master. But I think if you spend 1 or 2 years in consulting, these things should be your bread and butter and you should master them. Excel and PowerPoint, it goes without saying, you're going to deal with them everywhere we go, not just consulting. I don't care what you do for a living, accounting, finance, marketing, you're going to be dealing with Excel sheets. You're going to be dealing with a huge amount of data. So you need to learn how to, for example, use an Excel sheet, how to do pivot table. And I think this is where, for example, for a lot of you who want to go into consulting, can have that upper hand and that edge. There are heaps of free online materials and courses that you can take and engage. There's YouTube instructional videos on Excel, on PowerPoint, how to do VLOOKUPs, what are the top 10 or top 20 most used Excel formulas. Now, if you can master that and put that, and even if you are on LinkedIn have something called LinkedIn Learner where you can get a badge in PowerPoint and a badge in Microsoft, a badge in Excel. If you can get these things, I guarantee you it will give you an edge when you're walking into any interview with any firm, not just consulting. Excel and PowerPoint, you know, I know we get extremely fancy these days with a lot of programs, Tableau and Power BI, all of that. That's all, in my honest opinion and based on my experience, it's all a plus. The basics, and they will forever be the basics, are Excel and PowerPoint. And if you master these, you already have an edge. Agile. And agile, what I mean by agile is, if you're familiar with agile methodology, it's extremely hectic as a consultant. Because first and foremost, on any given day, you have two lives. You have your responsibilities and your tasks that you have on your client, or with your client on the project. And of course, you have your task and responsibilities in your home office, which is for me Accenture. So we need to be able to multitask and switch between tasks, switch hats, and be able to answer emails on the go, to be extremely active. And I think I'm going to jump a bit here between the numbers. To be extremely agile, you need to master number 9, which is self-care. It is true, consulting could be extremely hectic. I sometimes work up to 15 hours a day. And to maintain that, because you don't want to do that just for one day and then burn yourself off, right? So to maintain that for like several weeks until the project is over, you need to have self-care. And by self-care, I mean prioritize sleep, prioritize having food, drinking water. There's always a bottle of water and some snacks next to me, healthy snacks, of course. So we need to prioritize these things. Otherwise, you will burn out and you won't be as productive. And a couple of tips I can say, and like for example, for me, what really changed me and made me become extremely productive and extremely attentive to details is sleep. So I don't use my phone 1 hour before I go to bed at all. There is no phone next to my bedside table. My phone is at least 15 meters away. I use a manual alarm. I don't look at my phone 1 hour before I go to bed. And I also make sure there's pitch darkness in my room. There is no blue lights. There's nothing. There's no laptops, no TV, no screens. If you can really, if you really want to try to be more productive, even now before you go into your work, if you're still studying, you have some exams, you're having some trouble to focus during your hours, or during your study hours, prioritize your sleep. Stop using your phone or any kind of screens 1 hour before you go to bed, and trust me, it's a game changer. Another thing is time management. Like I said, on any given day, you're going to have 30, 40 plus tasks to do. And if you don't really manage your time, and what I call is focus hours. So I don't have kind of like a checklist. I need to do one, two, three. I say, okay, for the next hour, I'm prioritizing this section of the client, and I'm gonna finish everything, all that I can within the next hour for this specific section. So I think it's a more efficient way to do than actually doing tasks. So focus and like split your day and create a schedule that actually works for you. And the most important thing I learned is a schedule is not a prison. And what I mean by that is, you might say, oh, I don't want to work, I don't want to study, I want to watch the latest episode of I don't know what's popular now, Squid Game or Game of Thrones. I'm a bit old. Or I want to play video games, I want to play some, I don't know, whatever games you guys play. Well, that's okay, that's fine. It's a schedule is not a prison. Just you need to make that deal and that promise to yourself and say, okay, Fadi, I'm gonna work hard for the next 3 hours, and after that, I'm gonna play 2 or 3 games of FIFA, or I'm gonna watch 2 episodes of this show. You can create schedules that work for you. You could be more productive during the night. You could be more productive in the morning. You need to have that talk with yourself and put a schedule that actually you are comfortable with, and stick to it to the best of your ability. And because at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? And no one's perfect. And even if you make the perfect schedule, no one's gonna commit to 100%, and that's not expected. But if you can commit to 60 or 70% of your schedule, that's actually very good. And what you can do is then incremental improvement. So every day, okay, so the first day I got 60% of my schedule done right. That's perfect. Next day or next week, I want to try and do 65 and then 70. So if you aim and get that incremental improvement to your schedule or to any task you do, you guys are going to be unstoppable. Uh, Taking notes and articulating results. And what I mean by that is, you, for example, you're an Excel wizard, right? You've created the perfect pivot table, you've done this amazing analysis. Now, if you don't know how to articulate it and give it to the client in a good email, in a good document, or in a meeting, then that's your reputation gone. Because at the end of the day, client facing, being able to stand in front of someone, actually speak properly, is the biggest asset a consultant can have. Trust me when I tell you, if I'm being honest, this is something that we Middle Easterns and Arabs have it. We are extroverts by nature. We love to talk. We know how to talk. We love people. And this is your biggest asset as a consultant. Trust me, throughout my years, I've met so many amazing tech guys who, you know, come up with this brilliant solutions and coding, softwares. But at the end of the day, they don't know how to articulate that to the client. And this is where we step up. So this could be an added value to you. Use that extra version, use that love of people that we have in our blood as Arabs, use that to your advantage. Stakeholder management and networking. Uh, you're in your life as a consultant or in any career, actually, you're going to meet all kind of people. You're going to meet rude people, toxic people, narcissistic people, and you need to show a lot of patience. You need to show a lot of self-control, and you need to know how to handle them, and that will only come with experience. I don't care how many books you read, I don't care what you do. The only way for you to gain experience on how to deal with people is to actually deal with people. And this is something where consulting gives you an edge as well. You're going to be dealing with a lot of people from day one, whether people on your project, people on your team, from the client side, your supervisors, and the list goes on and on and on. And last but not least is networking. No, your network is your net worth. You'll never ever leave a client or leave a project without adding everyone, at least getting their email numbers or adding them on LinkedIn. Because at the end of the day, these people are going to grow with you. 10 years down the line, they are at a senior, a job somewhere or a senior level somewhere else. You're looking for a job, you see them there, you reach out, they remember you, you get a job interview. And that's how it is. It's not what you know, it's more who you know. It's 60 to 70% who you know and 40% what you know. So your network is extremely important. And this is something that you need to, and there's probably a lot of introverts in the audience, and that's okay as well. When I say your network, you don't have to go out with coffees and drinks every day with people. That's not what I'm talking about. All I'm saying is maintain that network. If you had a good relationship or you worked well on a project, add everyone on LinkedIn. Because trust me when I tell you, no one forgets a good achiever and no one forgets a good performer at all. I still remember people who I worked with 3 or 4 years ago because they were so good. Every time they post something on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Rami, for example. Yeah, he was a superstar. I think he was extremely efficient. No one forgets a good performer. But again, no one forgets a bad performer. So make sure you deliver, because if you don't deliver, that's gonna stick with you as well. So you need to protect your reputation at all time. And the only way to protect your reputation is to be a safe pair of hands and be a high achiever and be as efficient as you can possibly be. All right. And last slide I want to talk is if any of you is with TBB and they have an opportunity with an interview with a consulting firm, or even not through TBB, you have an interview with actually any kind of career wise. These are two things that I think are extremely important for you to learn about. Now, the first thing is something called the MISI principle. And MISI stands for mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. This is one of the most basic and fundamental conditions when you are providing any type of analysis, when you are doing any study, when you are providing any type of results to any client, your boss, your manager, your professor at university, I don't care. You need to follow the MISI principle. And I highly recommend everyone who wants to go into some kind of a corporate job where there's like analysis related to that, research the MISI principle, read about it. There's heaps of videos about it as well, because you need to master that. So what is the MISI principle? Let's start first with mutually exclusive. And I'm going to give this example here. Let's look at this graph here, right? So this graph, okay, I'll continue with this graph, and there's a lot of comments that I think we should start answering. So I'll finish this graph, guys, and then I'll start reading through the comments and answering some of the questions. If we look at this graph, okay, it says percentage of age bracket. And let's say we have a population, right? If you look at the columns, right? 0 to 20, 21 to 40, 41 to 60, and 60 plus. Mutually exclusive means there is no way, there is no chance that one result could be duplicated in more than one column. And that's exactly right. Like, I'm 30 years old. I'm only gonna appear in that 50% bracket because I'm age 30, which is between 21 and 40. If your age, let's say 19, you're gonna be in that first bracket between 0 and 20. There is no way that you're gonna be in any other bracket. So any type of research, any type of analysis that you do, it needs to be mutually exclusive. Now that's the first part, right? And the second part is collectively exhaustive. Now, what I mean by that, any type of populations that you are representing, it needs to all of it be represented. So you cannot miss any part of your population. So if you look at that example, let's look at the possible age, right? Human beings, they start at 0 and they live, let's say, to 100, right? If we look at this graph, all of those possibilities are available: 0 to 20, 21 to 40, 41 to 60, 60 plus. I don't care what age you are definitely going to show up in this analysis. So that's what I mean by collectively exhaustive, which means you've analyzed your population and or your segments that you're doing your research on, and you made sure that your research, your findings, included each and every possible scenario. And this is what I mean by the MSI principle. This is something that you really need to master, because that's the difference between a professional consultant or a professional who is doing analysis and an amateur. Now, that's the first part. Now the second part is, anytime you go to an interview with anyone, right, you're going to be asked questions about your experiences. You need to make sure you answer each and every question using the STAR technique. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. This is highly noticeable, especially by recruiters. They search for these answers. Some recruiters might make it easy for you and tell you, oh, we're expecting the answers in a STAR technique. Some don't. But every interview you go to in the future, you need to make sure you answer each and every question using the STAR technique. So what is the STAR technique? Let's start with the situation. So someone asks you, tell me about an example where you've dealt with a difficult client, right? So first of all, you lay the groundwork. So like, you explain the situation, you set the scene, so to speak. So you can say, oh, I was a consultant working with this small consulting firm back in Beirut from 2011 to 2014. And I was on this project with the Central Bank of Lebanon. And we were dealing with an extremely agile situation. We were behind schedule. The project was tracking red. And the project manager from the client side was not happy with us. So that's your situation, right? And then you talk about the task. So what is the task that you are working on? You say, I was tasked with writing user stories, and I had to break down all the epic user stories. This is a bit of agile methodology there for you, into smaller user stories, and I had a deadline of 2 weeks. I was running behind, and mainly because the stakeholders were not helping me. And then you describe the action. And the action is, what did you do to solve the situation? So in this example that I'm completely making up now, by the way, I reached out to my manager, I explained the situation, and before escalating to the client, I kind of figure out if we can handle this internally, because we're already on thin ice with the client. We don't want to escalate anything else. So we try to solve this internally without the use of any upper management. What was the result of your action? We managed to finish it on time, thankfully, and that kind of workaround actually worked. The result was extremely positive. The client was happy with us, and from that moment forward, that the relationship with the client became better and better, until eventually we finished the project successfully, on time and under budget. So that was the result. So that's a small example. So what you do is, and my tip for you is, before you go into any interview, think about these kind of situations. Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult client. Tell me about a time you worked under stress. Tell me about a time you were a team player. And all of these extremely popular scenarios that you're most probably going to be asked about. And think, how are you going to articulate your answers using a STAR technique? And try to limit your answers to 1 to 2 minutes per question, because that's how much a recruiter is anticipating, right? And if you do that, that's another edge that you're going to have walking into any interview in any career path, not just in consulting. And that was life as a consultant in a nutshell. Hopefully, you found all of these helpful. And yeah, we can definitely take some questions now. So what's the process for questions, Naim?
All right. Thank you so much, Fadi. We have a lot of questions from before and now. You hear me, right?
Uh, Naim, you're on mute.
I'm not. Okay, is it working now?
Oh, I can't hear you for some reason.
Bluetooth mode. Wait, line mode.
Okay, that's odd. I can hear you.
Oh, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. All right, I can hear you
Okay.
now.
Working now. Amazing. So we've had some questions before when we posted about the webinar. People put some questions in the comments. So let's get to them, and let's also answer some of the questions we have in the comments right now. So maybe let's start with the ones we had before. So we have a question saying, what comes after consulting in terms of career? What is your career progression as a consultant once you start?
Okay, so there are two main pathways if you want. Now, consulting in itself is definitely is depending on your obviously specialty. Like I am building a specialty in supply chain, so I am a supply chain consultant, so to speak. So I'll give my example, right? After I build the kind of experience that I want in supply chain consulting, I have two options. I can either grow within my consulting firm and stay as a consultant, or I can choose to go in-house. So go and take a permanent position as a supply chain manager or as a supply chain specialist in an actual company, whatever it is, Samsung, Apple, or whatever. So these are the two paths that comes to you. And the biggest difference is whether you are into marketing and sales or not. Because the truth of the matter is, if you want to climb into consulting, you need to sell work, right? That's how we survive. We sell work, we find the need in the client, we charge them lots of money, we get a big bonus. That's consulting in a nutshell. But sometimes, like I know a lot of people who are extremely good at consulting, extremely good at what they do, but they just hate that aspect of we need to sell, we need to grow, we need to kind of upscale. So they just go in house and they build their own career somewhere else outside of that kind of sales aspect to it. So it really depends on your preference.
Okay, that's great to know. Because we have also kind of a related question that says, do I need to study business to become a consultant?
No, not at all. Because you can be a consultant in anything you want. You can be a financial consultant. You can be marketing, corporate strategy, whatever it is that you do in university. You can use that, build that skill, and consult upon it. And you can. And the thing is, no matter what you decide to do, right, in college or whatever you are doing, a consulting company will take you and will put you in a project where it's aligned with your education. So let's say, for example, you had a master's in finance, right? And you decide to join Accenture. As a fresh grad, you'll be an analyst and aligned to financial services. You will only work on financial projects. You will learn that experience and you'll grow that experience. And of course, as you grow and the more experience you get, then Accenture will be able to charge more money for your services from the client. And of course, you'll be able to build your portfolio. And also, okay, one about that previous question, I just remembered. There is a third option. You can be an independent consultant. You can be a freelancer as well. You can say, I don't want to work for anyone anymore. I want to work on my own. You could be a contractor and you can take jobs as they come. It's a bit more difficult and a bit more hectic. But if you are someone who strives on working on their own, they're not okay with working under someone else's supervision, then potentially contracting is definitely an option as well for you after consulting.
Okay, thank you, Fadi. We have a questions from the live comments. The question بالعربي وللتذكير فيكم تحطوا question بالعربي or in English. We will answer both. We have a question كخريج إدارة أعمال شو الأشياء اللي حتميزني in the TBB process? Because he has the skills, عنده المهارات, عنده الكمبيوتر, عنده كل شيء. شو ممكن يعمل to stand out?
What you can do to stand up, and that's actually another question which is related to another question in the comments from Muhammad al Shadat. He says, what are the other most important skills that you recommend to people who already have these skills like in PDF and PowerPoint? And I'll use some of Arabic and English to answer this one. Whatever you are doing now, like let's say you are an auditor, an accountant, or whatever your profession is, right? Or whatever you are learning or now studying in university, build on top of that. Make sure you pick a specialty as early as you can and stick to it like there is no tomorrow, man, because this is what will set you apart. I am definitely against what I've seen is people who claim to be jack of all trades are the first to leave the company. No one cares about jack of all trade. Everyone can do that. Pick something that you are passionate about and build upon it. And what I mean by that, you're into finance, all right? Okay, let's say you're into finance. Learn about blockchain. You know, take some courses on blockchain because that's the way of the future. You're into auditing, learn what's the newest auditing softwares being used around the world. You want to come to Australia, to Sydney, you're an auditor or you're an accountant, do your research, figure out what are the most used softwares for accountants in Australia, study those, get a certificate in those. So build those extra steps. And what I learned, and I actually mentor a lot of students here through my 300, there's a program with Accenture where we mentor university students. And I asked them an extremely hard question, and a lot of them answered, and they weren't very happy with the answers. I asked them, okay, so what you do after you finish your like you finish your studies for the day, you go back home. What do you do? Like, oh, yeah, I play some PlayStation. Okay, and after that, I have some dinner. After that, oh, I watch Netflix. And after that, oh, I talk to my girlfriend. And after that, you go to bed. Okay, so between 5 and 11, when he goes to bed, for example, that's what? That's 6 hours. Now, if you take 2 hours out of that, forget instead of watching 4 episodes, watch 2 episodes. And in the next 2 hours, upskill, learn something new, give yourself the edge. Information is key, man. And that's what's going to set you apart. That's the only thing that's going to make you stand out in the thousands. Because let's be honest, TBB have 20,000, I don't know how much, maybe
We're almost
30,
40,000
40,000
now.
applicants. You want to stand out? That's how you stand out. And you don't even need money. Like you can Google. There's are heaps of free certificates on Udemy and all of that. It's just about the knowledge. It doesn't matter if the certificate is coming from Harvard or whatever. If you get that knowledge, it's gonna set you apart, and it's gonna show the employers that you're eager to learn, and that's a big, big asset.
Thank you, Fadi. This is a great answer. Let's just jump into another related question about experience. This is also an old question. How can I overcome the problem of the lack of experience in the region I'm applying to? So in Hada in Lebanon, and they're applying for a consulting position in Australia, for example. How was that for you?
Okay, so in my situation, I had 4 years of experience in Lebanon. So I sympathize with you because experience is key. Now, what you can do is, if you don't have experience, build your knowledge then. So, all right, I'm not very, I'm not, so I apologize in advance because I don't know your circumstances. You're definitely trying and you can't find a job. And I really sympathize with you because it took me 19 months after graduating in 2012 to find a job. 18 months after graduating with a master's in financial engineering, I was still waitering and cleaning dishes. So I sympathize with you. Now, I don't know if you have a lot of, part-time jobs, you might have family responsibilities, but if you have some free time, like because you don't have a full-time job, get knowledge, man. Read books, do a lot of certificates. Like you don't have experience, get knowledge. Because if I'm a recruiter and I'm gonna ask the question, okay, you haven't found a job in 2 years. What have you done those 2 years? Well, I binged Friends 5 times. Yay. No, I finished X certificate and X certificate. I did this. I read this book. I did this. So if there's a gap, fill it with something meaningful. All right. Make sure you have an answer for that. Don't just say, oh, well, I haven't found a job in 3 years. Okay. So what did you do? Nothing. That trust me, that doesn't look well. And I'm sorry if that's a bit harsh, but that's the reality of it. It's an extremely competitive market, and for every position now, there's thousands of applicants of refugees, and TBB is not the only company doing that. And there are refugees who already came here who are probably applying as well, and so you need to set yourself apart. So if you have some free time, fill it with something meaningful.
That's great advice. We have another more practical question. This question was translated. I was worried about the case study interview. How was your experience with it, and do you have any advice?
Yes, the STAR technique, master that, man. Okay, so first, the STAR technique is very important because they're gonna ask you about these case studies. So, like I said, Google's the most 5 or 10 most asked questions. Like talk to me about a time where you were worked under stress, or talk to me about a time you dealt with a bad customer, or like told me about the time you added value to your company, or all of that. And practice answering those questions using a star technique. Now that's fun. Two, you need to master your elevator pitch. Elevator pitch mean someone asks you, tell me about yourself. You need to be able to tell about yourself within 2 or 3 minutes and just give them the main information about your profession, your experiences, your education, your passion, things like that. Master your elevator pitch. You need to memorize it like you memorize your name. Because when you walk into an interview, if you don't prepare enough, you're gonna be, a bit and these pauses really shake your confidence and doesn't bode well for a recruiter. So practice. Like I remember for my TBB and for my interview with Accenture, I took 3 days off work. I downloaded a couple of booklets. There was a couple of PDFs online preparing for an interview with a consulting firm. I memorized them. There was a PDF with 200 questions. I read those 200 questions and I prepared for each. I took 3 days off work before the interview to prepare for it. So preparation, man. No one's perfect. We all struggle. We all become a bit nervous, especially when it's a life-changing interview, like with a potential recruiter in Australia or Canada or whatever. So treat it or give it the enough time that you think it deserves, and depending on how much it means to you, right? So if it's like life changing, like it was for me, take days off and tell your girlfriend or boyfriend to take a hike for 2 days. Tell your parents to not disturb you. Close your room, sit down 3 4 5 days a week, it doesn't matter, and give it your all. That's what I did, and that's the advice I give.
Thank you, Fadi. This is pretty important, and thank you for sharing this because we got a lot of questions similar to how can I stand out within the TBB process or recruiting process. And I just want to highlight that these things are what makes the difference. This is what makes you a special candidate. Like I know not everybody can afford to take days of work, for example. However, just the mindset and giving it the time that it deserves, like you said, I feel like this is important, and I think this is good advice for everybody here with us today. So let's
know your
question. How was your transition from working in Lebanon to Australia in terms of getting overwhelmed and managing yourself, basically?
Oh God, I felt like I landed here. I was 28 years old. I felt like a 28-year-old baby. I was just missing the diapers. It was a big transition, especially in the working culture. You know how it is in Lebanon, right? Oh, the meeting's at 9. Okay, Habibi, yalla, yeah, 9:15. 9, the Lebanese way, right? They don't that don't bode well here. 9:00, you need to be ready by 8:55 in that meeting and prepared. It's definitely more hectic because you have to earn it. There's a lot of more working hours. It's extremely high pressure. It's extremely more cutthroat. Uh, because at the end of the day, there is no heart. Like just let me just put it out there. It doesn't matter if they know you, if you're a good friend. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you're not performing, you're out. So it's very more cutthroat. It's very different to the Lebanese culture. But I'll tell you what, your rights are completely respected. So let's say they fired you, you'll get, you know, a big payout because they fired you. You'll be taken care of by the government. You won't just be thrown on the street without a notice. They'll give you a warning about your performance, a second warning. They will try and help you. But if you don't want to help yourself, they will cut ties with you in a heartbeat. So that was the biggest change of culture because the Lebanese way, everyone. You probably go out and you visit your colleagues at his home. There is that family sense to work. That was my experience, at least. Here is that your performance is the everything that sets you apart, man. They don't care about your last name, your religion, your gender, how you look like. It doesn't matter. What you perform and what you produce from 9 to 5 is all they care about.
This is good advice. Thank you, Fadi. We have a question from Luay, who's asking, is this specialization related with engineering branches? I guess the question is, how would you use your engineering background in consulting? I would reframe the question.
Definitely. Well, because engineers, at the heart of it, they are problem solvers, and consultants are problem solvers as well. And actually, we hire a lot of engineers. So if you are an engineer, that's good, because we have a big, as you know, I'm talking about Accenture Australia, of course. So we have a big mining industry, and there's always demands on engineers. We mine coal, and we're one of the biggest producers of coal in the world, Australia. So that's something definitely to keep in mind. So what I like, something that you might stand out with, try and research uh, what might give you an edge in terms of mining technologies you can learn or read about, what's new within the mining industry. That's something that might give you an edge. And it doesn't have to be something, like I said, it doesn't have to be something paid. It could be reading a book, it could be watching a video, it could be just learning what kind of technologies they use. And if you're an engineer and it's something that's like interesting for you, you put that on your CV, and it might be the difference between them asking you for an interview or not. So yeah, if you're an engineer, look into mining technologies and the mining industry in Australia. It's one of our biggest clients, and there's always demand on that.
Thank you for the answer. Here, you guys are getting some insider tips, so make use of them. We have a question, a previous question as well. What does a subject matter expert mean?
A subject matter expert means, so let's say supply chain. Supply chain is a subject matter. If I'm an expert in supply chain, I'm a subject matter expert in supply chain. And this mainly is, so if you become a subject matter expert, it means you have lots of year of experience. I'm guessing at least 5. You have a lot of certificates, and you have a good reputation within the market of delivering at the high level and delivering successfully in that subject matter, right? So once you do those things, you become known in the industry as a subject matter expert. And this is when you can charge more money. This is when you can decide to go on your own and be an independent contractor. And this is when you'll be hired for your years of experience and for that title. So someone's searching for a supply chain expert, they will, Google that, and they will find people who, have that skill, and they will be called subject matter experts, for example. And that's not just supply chain, any kind of career, any kind of topic. If you're an expert, you have experience, and you have the credentials, you become a subject matter expert in your field, which what we all aim to be one day.
Thank you for the answer. Now we have an interesting question. It's a very long question, so I don't think all of it is going to appear on the screen. This is from Somar, who was already interviewed by Accenture during the mock interview. Apparently, Somar didn't make it, like didn't get the job offer, but he's saying in his comment that he followed your advice and he took the courses provided by TBB's partners. But let me just read the question again. What are the other things that I should do to get a recruiter's attention again after not making it the first time?
What I would ask is, did you get any feedback, or did you ask for any feedback about what went right, or why did they not go through with you? Now, if yes, try and build on that, and try and understand how can you improve it. Now, the second thing is try and remember what went wrong. And I think we all have that inner gut feeling that maybe tells us what we did wrong, what we said wrong, what kind of questions we didn't answer correctly, or we're a bit on edge. So if you can remember what were the things that you probably could answer better, do that. And you know what? At the end of the day, you could have done nothing wrong, and it's just that they decided not to recruit you. And that's also a big possibility, because that happened to me, believe it or not. Before actually joining Accenture, uh, I got interviewed by 3 other employers through TBB. And I thought I did well, and I thought the interviews went well, but they never contacted us again, and they never said that they wanted to hire me, and I moved on. So, and I end up in Accenture. So maybe Accenture saying no to you could be a blessing in disguise. It could open up a better employer in a better country or better circumstances. Now, keep in mind that COVID really affected us, and I'm being very honest in terms of our margins and our recruitment. There was a period where we had a big recruitment freeze as well, and then you had a big change of leadership. So all of that might be in effect. So you could be just it could just be unfortunate circumstances as well. What I can say is keep doing what you're doing, keep upskilling, and keep learning. I think it's better to be ready for an opportunity and it not to come, than to have an opportunity come and you not to be ready.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback, Fadi. So definitely, like Somar is agreeing with you. I think it was due to the COVID freeze, but Somar, don't give up. We're here for you, and you making
Yeah,
it to the interview is a good sign. So
it
keep
is a
going
very
forward.
good sign. Keep faith,
Yes,
and hopefully they will resume everything, and hopefully I will see you here one day, my friend.
hopefully. Now we have a high comment, not a question from Tare, who's also one of our candidates, who's saying hi to Fadi. Hi, Tare. That's one of the candidates as well. So happy to see you with us today as well.
Tariq is one of the
Um,
first people who came to Australia through TBB as well.
Yeah, well, happy to see our family growing. So, welcome here, everybody. We have a question related to general CV tips, or maybe I
Okay,
would frame the question in terms of like how important is a CV in the recruiting process?
very important. And what I can tell you about the CV is try to shape it to highlight your wins and try to shape it to highlight only the important things. Now, what I don't recommend is having a 5 page CV. I don't care if you have 10 years of experience. No one will read 5 page CV, okay? I'm talking to a lot of people who send me 5 page CVs. No one reads them. So we need to try and be extremely precise and try to be extremely efficient because that's what we are as consultant. When a client hire you, right? A client hire you because they're losing money, they want to save money, they're losing time, they want to save time, they want to improve and make their process and their business more efficient. So how efficient it is to send them 5 pages of CVs, right? So that's a good tip as well. If I'm a recruiter and I can see a clean CV, straight to the point, clean, well ordered, well formatted, dot points, dot, dot, dot. Okay, he's clean, he's orderly. These are like the fundamentals of a good consultant. So straight to the point. Don't talk about experience no one cares about. No one cares that you clean dishes when you were 14, for example. So pick only the experiences that matter. Now, unless there are some lessons to be learned. So, you were cleaning dishes, but because of your hard work, you were promoted to cashier, or you were handling the finances or the salaries of the restaurant or something like that. Yes, that's worth mentioning because that's a big win. It means that you are progressing, right? But if it's meaningless, just don't mention it. That's my biggest tip. And the second tip is do your due diligence on the company and make sure you use some of the buzzwords they use. Now, that's another insider tip as well. Google, most companies are on LinkedIn, especially when they're posting jobs. Look at their jobs they're posting. You can go on LinkedIn now, go to Accenture Australia and see like their jobs that they're posting. Read through the recommendation, read through the requirements, and try to match those buzzwords because that's if you use words that are familiar to what they are using, it will be, I guess, a bit disarming. So like, oh, okay, we know these like, oh, upskilling, oh, okay, or upscaling or whatever. Use words that they are using. That's a big tip. I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Fadi. These are pretty important tips. A follow-up question. Since you mentioned LinkedIn, we've had a question about how important is LinkedIn when applying. Could you just apply with your CV without having a profile on LinkedIn,
Oh,
or should you just have it?
no, 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 no. That's if you don't have a profile on LinkedIn, create one now. I'm not kidding. Forget Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all the other whatever. That's unless you're a streamer and they're like generating income for you, they're useless. I'm that serious about this. You want to be a professional, you be on LinkedIn. You want to be the happy grandfather who comments on all of other people's posts, be on Facebook. LinkedIn is the way on, and don't just be on LinkedIn to stalk people. Be active on LinkedIn. Be proactive. You're interested in Accenture Australia? Follow Accenture Australia on LinkedIn. Comment on their posts. Like some of your friends, just posted a promotion. Congratulate them. Like their post. You found an interesting article. Share it on LinkedIn. Everyone once in a while ask a question on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has something called LinkedIn Learning. Get a few badges under your belt. Doesn't hurt. Invest your time in LinkedIn. If you want to be on social media, out of all the platforms, unless you're a streamer and you're generating money out of YouTube and Facebook or whatever, LinkedIn is the place to be. And if you're not on LinkedIn, you're already behind.
Thank you, Fadi. I definitely agree. Don't be on Facebook unless you follow Town Beyond Boundaries because we share opportunities there. But otherwise, definitely agree
Follow
with
Tell
you.
Beyond Boundaries on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I just wanted to mention that if you're struggling with creating a profile on LinkedIn, please keep up with us because we have a little bit of a LinkedIn surprise for you for next year. We're gonna help you establish yourself on LinkedIn. So keep following us, and like you heard it from Fadi, so we don't need to reiterate how important LinkedIn is. So moving on to some other questions. Um, I think we already covered this question. What made you stand out in the TBB process outside other consultants who were applying for the same position?
I think my preparation, like I said, I'm sure a lot of people on this call would relate. I was stateless in Lebanon. And as you know, Lebanon will never give me citizenship. I was 26 at the time, and I've lost all my family. And so that was my only way to have a life. And so every time I had a job interview, I treated that way. I it was if I was drowning and somebody threw me a rope which is 20 meters away. And even if I don't know how to swim, I'm gonna try my best and fight with everything I got to get to that rope because that's my only way of salvation. So I treated every job interview like as it was, God's word descending on me. I, the minute I learned there was an interview, I would just get obsessed, like extremely obsessed. I will follow them on every platform, read every article up on them, watch every video, prepare for every interview. Every minute of my day was dedicated to that interview, and I treated every interview as if it was life or death situation. And the result was I went into every interview like a superstar, man. I was extremely prepared. I knew all the questions before they were asking them. I was so ready, as if it was I was reading the answers right in front of me. And that will always make you stand out. So it's no secret sauce, man. It's just preparation and hard work and preparation and hard work. I swear to God, like I had like I didn't watch TV, I didn't play PlayStation, I didn't even go to the gym 2 weeks leading to the interview. All I did was being obsessed with that recruiter, obsessed to the teeth. Like the year zero founded, their business growth, their bottom line, their profits, their expansions, their latest hires, their posts on LinkedIn. I was obsessed. So you want to stand out? Be obsessed.
Thank you, Fadi. I wish I could just repeat this for everybody in the back because this is pretty much what this is all about. It's not some magic secret or some secret sauce. It's mostly just dedication and a really great example of that. So thank you for sharing this. And I want to iterate what you said because our successful candidates are the candidates who put in the work to learn about where they're applying to, what they're getting themselves into. And this like begs another question, maybe from me this time. How was this psychologically for you, like waiting and not being certain that this is going to work? Because this is something that our candidates struggle with, like the waiting times. Because we acknowledge that it can take a long time. So how is it for you dealing with this, waiting for an answer and applying?
Oh, horrible! I won't pull any punches. It's horrible because when you're waiting for something that potentially might change your life forever, and it's not coming, and it's being delayed or being canceled. So that's why I sympathize with Sumar because I was in the exact same boat. And just to give you a bit of perspective, I joined TBB in 2016. I got a job offer from Accenture in 2017. I landed in Australia in 2019. 2 years. Because oh yay, I landed the interview and I got a job offer. Oh, okay, you're stateless. Oh, you don't have a passport, no driver's license, nothing. I didn't even have a last name. So like, how are we gonna fly you legally to Australia? It took 2 years to find a solution. So it's gonna be a big mental battle, and it's only gonna get worse once you get job interview and you're waiting for the result. But what I can tell you is, think of them as like baptism by fire, because once you deal with that stress, and I know because I speak probably for the majority here, we've been through a lot, we've been through hell, and nothing will phase us, and that will give us an edge. Because when you walk in a bit of overwork, a bit of hours after 5, after everything we've been through, it doesn't gonna matter much. So yes, the waiting is gonna be tough, but think of it as something that's gonna really make you stand out, and it's gonna give you that edge. It's gonna give you that perseverance, and that's inner strength that's gonna last you a lifetime. So hang in there and be patient. And one thing I can tell you is, it doesn't matter what the result is. These guys at TBB, they will give it their all, and they will fight tooth and nail to get you there. And even if there's no interviews at the moment, even if there's nothing, even if they don't reply to you like within 2 or 3 weeks, it's not because they don't care. It's because they have nothing to offer yet, but they are trying. So believe in them. They're not miracle makers, right? Like if there's no recruiters interested, it's not like gonna like abracadabra, Australia. But they're gonna try every legal possible avenue, and they're gonna give it their all. They are extremely passionate, and I really believe in them.
Thank you so much, Fadi, and this means a lot to us as TBB, and this is something we keep iterating that we try to help everybody as much as we can, but like you just said, it's going to be a slow process at many points, especially with COVID and what happened. But what you said is priceless, because it shows like the mental strength that you need to have to walk into this whole thing. Because like you said, it is a life changing opportunity. It's not only a job that you get. So I feel like this is something that all of the people watching here and all of our candidates are going to benefit from. So thank you so much. I'm going to invite people to ask questions in the comments if they have to. I'm just going to go through some of the questions, maybe not directly related to what we just talked about, which is something, for example, I submitted an application about a month and a half ago. We realize that the situation is bad, but again, this is not something that would happen very quickly. We're doing our best. And if you get to an interview with an employer, then we're just waiting for feedback from the employer. So please be patient with us. We're doing the best we can to make sure that we get you there on time. We have a question from Alia. Do we have a phone number in Lebanon to connect with? If you need any questions or anything to get support with, please reach out to us on Facebook or by email. Our email is info@championboundaries.org. I'm going to put the email here as well if you prefer to reach out by email. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. We have a question from Amir. If you got a job on your own, can we help you? Yes, we can. Please send us an email. We can't guarantee that we'll be able to support you because you need to be eligible and the employer needs to be eligible. So please shoot us an email and explain your situation. And again, last call. If you have any questions for Fadi, don't waste this opportunity. In the meantime, Fadi, I just want to say we really are proud of you for being with us today and for being where you are. And I feel like what we talked about today is less about the job process itself and more about the mental process of looking at an opportunity and saying, this is my only survival mechanism and I need to put all in it. And I feel like this is something we should talk about more often, because I'm sure it wasn't easy for you, and I'm sure pretty much everybody here relates to that. So thank you for being open to sharing your story with us and sharing what went through your mind and your feelings throughout the process itself. Because we try to explain as much as we can, but hearing it from you, somebody who has already made it, is definitely inspirational for all of us. So I can see that we don't have any more questions. So Fadi, the stage is yours if you want to close on any note.
Thank you so much, Naeem. And really, TBB has changed my life, and you are a family to me, and I really appreciate you. They're changing lives. They might not be changing your life now, but have faith, and I'm sure everyone's time will come. I want to close in this beautiful quote. It's an Arabic quote. It's a quote that I've heard in high school from my Arabic teacher and stuck by me. And it's been in my mind ever since. كنت بالثانوية وعندنا أستاذ عربي كنت كتير بحبه كتير بحترمه. بتعرف عم بوزع المسابقات وفي كتير عالم ما جابوا علامات منيحة وعم بنقوا مش مبسوطين ويا أستاذ والمسابقة كانت صعبة لا، عطى مثل رائع. عطى مثل قال أمير المؤمنين كان مرة عم بيوعظ والعالم راحت بقى تسمع شو عم بيحكي أمير المؤمنين. في واحد راح على حصانه مبسوط إنه جاب حصان جديد، راح تا يسمع كلام الله من أمير المؤمنين. نزل عن حصانه متحمس وفات تا يسمع كلام أمير المؤمنين، وطلع لبرا لقى حصانه هربان، هرب حصانه ما لقى حصانه. فات لجوا عم بيصرخ ويعيط يا أمير المؤمنين ولو إنه جيت أسمع كلام الله، هيك الله بيكفيني إنه حصاني بيهرب. أمير المؤمنين بيقول له أعقلها ثم اتكل على الله. إنه يا إنسان اربطها مزبوط، رباط الحصان مزبوط وبعدين فوت اتكل على الله. فبدي أقوله إنه ما فينا غير ما نتكل على الله، بس كمان فينا نساعد الله شوي. يعني نحط شوية effort، ندرس شوي زيادة، نحط شوية وقت، وصدقوني هذا أحسن استثمار معقول تعملوه بوقتكم. حتى لو ما وصلتوا مع TBB، حتى لو ضليتوا بلبنان، حتى لو رجعتوا إذا الله راد بيمشي الحال بسوريا بترجع بلد رائع ورجعتوا لهونيك. هالأوقات هلا إذا بتحطوا ساعة كل يوم، ساعتين كل يوم، مع مدة سنة سنتين، طب هودي 300 ساعة فيكم تطلعوا 30 سيرتيفيكت 40 سيرتيفيكت في ابلكيشن بتخوف مان، بتخليك تشوف كم ساعة صرت مقضى على نتفليكس. يعني إذا ما بعرف شو اسمه اللينك، if you google it you can find، بتقول لك كم ساعة صرت مقضى على نتفليكس. طب إذا قسمتم بالنص حساب 1000 ساعة آخر 3 سنين، طب 500 على نتفليكس وال500 الباقي you invested in yourself. وين كنت صرت أو صرتي سوري، بعرف إنه it's mixed. فهذا المثل من وقت الثانوية كان عمري 13 سنة 14 سنة وضلوا براسي من وقتها. كل مرة بقول مثل ما الله بيريد، بس بدرس وبتعب وبعطي كل شيء وبرجع بقول مثل ما الله بيريد. If anything I want to leave you with this quote because it really stood out for me and I've been respecting this quote ever since I learned it almost 15 years ago.
Thank you so much, Fadi. I really cannot add anything to this. I feel like لازم هالكوت نطبعه ونعلقها كل حدا ببيته because this is what it's really all about. I really appreciate you sharing not only like practical tips but also mental tips with us because this is helpful regardless of your occupation, whether you're with TBB or not. So thank you so much for leaving us with this beautiful and inspirational note. And thank you for giving us your time today. Despite the technical difficulties at the start, thank you for giving us your time and your experience at Accenture and also with life. So thank you again for being with us, and we hope to see you again in the future. Have a great day, everyone.
And organizing. And thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a